Well, in terms of faith, it is possible for an outsider to see the Catholic Church as one great big scheme to extract money or power. But for us, you have to go back to Christ. If Christ is held not to be authentic, A, just to have been a man, or B, to have been a special man but didn't rise from the dead, then the game's up. But if we base our religion on him being God the Son, who died and rose from the dead and established a church, and promises go with that church that he established, then if we say we found that church, which is called the Catholic Church, then we trust that it is guaranteed to teach the truth and not to teach error. So there will be crooks, villains, shysters, but it will never be allowed to teach error to the masses.
Of course, because you are saying that this is a holy thing, and therefore, because it is, it will always, by definition, point us in the right direction.
Yeah.
I'm saying, not in for that at all, but there could be ordinary human beings who feel that it is useful to go through this means of getting people to move in a reasonable direction.
Well, if other people would be on board with the Catholic approach for reasons other than they believe that the Catholic faith is true, I suppose we can't argue against that, as they're not obstructing, they're assisting. One would hope for their own souls that they would come to accept the faith in itself for itself, irrespective of its utility. For us, it's simply a matter of seeing it as the vehicle for knowing how we should live. And I would say we haven't really made a bad stab of it. After all, where is there better to live than in the West? Where is there better to be born and grow up than in the West?
Well, it depends what it is that you want.
Now, that is very true, because there are places in the world where you can get certain things which are not allowed here.
Well, that could be naughty things, but they could also just be a different sort of working through things, and that this person likes that, like he likes Chinese music, so he goes and sits in China, that sort of thing.
But now, if you're a person of means, this is true, you could hop from culture to culture and take what you like. But an average person, if one can speak of such, born into any particular society, will be better born in the West than anywhere else, and be better growing up here than anywhere else. And that is because this civilization was made by this church, fundamentally. Yeah, it's okay.
I always thought that
don't choke on your food.
the Greeks did have something to do with it.
Oh yes. Don't think that we just kind of came along and said, right, here we go. No, you remember, we took the greatness of Greece and of Rome with the collapse of the Roman Empire. Of course, the Romans stole Greece, right? So we stole Rome and Greece when we took what was the rubble of the Roman Empire and carried it forwards into Northern Europe and the Mediterranean world, and built this civilization, which meant that the values of Greece and Rome, the best of Greece and Rome, didn't die, and we supplemented that with a whole new set of values, a new set of things, which were a basic gift to the tribes of Europe. And I say that we built it in not in the sense that the Catholic Church, yes, the Catholic Church is external to Europe at this point, fundamentally. It comes into Europe, but then it's by converting the European tribes, they themselves, as Catholic tribes now and then as Catholic nations, make this civilization what it becomes.
Yeah, possibly they do. Well, I might feel that what was going on before the Catholic Church gave us this huge push to get us to go this way. They were doing very well, and perhaps even better, without this help from the Romans, the Catholic Church. That there was a huge... There's stuff now coming out on this about what happened around about 400 AD. And the usual thing is to say, well, look at all these things that have been smashed and brought down, all this, and these are the naughty vandals. And sometimes it is the naughty vandals, and sometimes it's seeming out to be the naughty Catholics. And there are ways of telling, because if it's something that breaks the objects in a certain way, that you could say is much more likely to have been done by one of these groups rather than another. So sometimes it is for holiness, sometimes it's being a vandal or something, and when it is for holiness, then it is done to destroy some rather good stuff, which is now coming to be seen.
I've no doubt that there are many ancient gods, images and so on that we destroyed, which are lost to posterity. Well, what can I say?
Well, I'm not necessarily asking you to be totally committed to pagan gods, but I'm saying that in one of the museums in Athens, they've got something there that they've no idea what it is. It seems to be something almost like a proto-clock.
Oh yes, it was discovered 120 years ago.
That's right, that's the one. Yeah,
yes, yeah. And it's been 3D imaged, and now they've seen huge numbers of cogs.
That's right, that's right.
The name of it, I can't remember the name of it.
No, we both know what we're talking about.
But yes, it's fascinating.
Yes.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, and I think that probably, if it was put on the floor and jumped on, that our history wasn't improved by that.
Well, it seems that the ancient Greeks had something, but it didn't spread sufficiently to be continued when the Romans came. And I just find that, I mean, we get an extremely complex clock in the 14th century in England, the astrarium, I think it's called, which is a similar kind of thing, but this is the 14th century. The church is doing great things in terms of science and technology, but if we had had a continuity from the ancient Greeks, but you know, that's a loss to the human race. That's really, we couldn't do much, because I don't think we, even at the time when the church became the religion of the Roman Empire, I don't think there was any memory in late antiquity of those sorts of machines that the Greeks once had. I mean, I may be wrong, but you just see nothing said about these things, do you?
No, you don't. Okay, it may have been somebody who smashed it up or something like that, because some of them might have done. There would have been people who call themselves Christians who are saying we're trying to get rid of a lot of this stuff, which is, we don't understand it, but it's probably very nasty, so we'll get rid of it.
This clock type device, it was probably in full working order, and the only reason we have it is because it was on a ship which sank.
Yes.
And it's corroded, and obviously, and so that's what we got. So it's fantastic that they could rebuild it in a sense of imaging. But I very much doubt that a mechanism, if it were found by Christians, would be damaged. We would damage images of pagan deities. That's true. We're a bit naughty like that. A bit naughty. But there's no sign of Christians going around demolishing great works of architecture of antiquity, doing things to even a lot of pagan art just survives.
A lot of it was destroyed because it looked naughty.
Well, yeah, if you take pagan art that's just not so much a sign of worship of false gods, as we'd call them, and not unduly immoral, then the Christians tended to be indifferent, I think. I think there's a general, I think the Catholic and other Christian approach to these mechanisms will be very benign. And that's just at a complete guess.
I think you're being very kind.
Well, what can I say? I know I'm impartial when it's about talking about the Catholics, but that's fine. You know, it was wonderful you mentioned that mechanism.
Yeah.
Really amazing. What on earth was going on in ancient Greece?
Well, you see, one thing, if I come along and I am some sort of rather narrow-minded priest, I could look at that and you could say, well, you know, I think it looks to me like something that the devil would have created. Why not?
Well, certainly, John Milton's devil. John Milton's devil was a technologist, a man of action, or a demon of action.
Exactly.
But Lucifer Lucifer well, you can see him drawing it from the Lucifer of the Bible, but nonetheless, I'll remain kind to my Catholic forebears on the question of technology. And just to say that what we do have when we look at the astrarium, and we look for example, Cardinal Nicholas de Cusa is responsible for me having these.
Well, maybe the Romans had them, so...
You're joking. They had spectacles.
What they did, no, they didn't exactly have spectacles, but they had various tricks to get around them. You've got some old man who is very rich and powerful and things like this, and so he needs to get on with business about reading his reports, these various things. You can't always rely on anybody being around and saying, so what you did, this was the time when they just invented blown glass.
Okay.
So he sits there and he gets this blown glass and he puts it round the other side and it acts like a microscope.
Okay, well that's fascinating. That's fascinating. But we have with eyeglasses, the first image of eyeglasses we have is about 1350, a painting of a cardinal.
Yes.
I think a French cardinal who's reading at his desk. So that's about 1350.
Yeah, sure.
So we guess they're invented around 1300. And then, of course, as I say, that's concave lenses.
Yeah.
I think convex lenses for short-sightedness are a bit late, about 1430, and that's the Cardinal invents them. Of course, we have Gutenberg, a Catholic, gives us a printing press. Cardinal Ximenes, who orders the Vulgate Bible to be the first printed book from it. We have the creation of the universities in the Catholic lands.
Well, yeah, but did Aristotle have a place of learning?
But the universities as such, which we know, the foundations. I'm not sure we'd say that what we had in antiquity is the same as what we call the universities today. But the foundation of Bologna in 1088, Oxford, 1167, and so on.
It's just going back to things that we'd had before. Not thanks to the Christians, but thanks to the pagans.
You could have gatherings of people where they would go to learn. That's true. I imagine the Persians might have had that, and of course the Jews have their gatherings of people to learn the Torah. But the university, a specific Western kind of university, that's established by the Church. Before the Reformation, we have 50 of these.